said, Mike, I feel that God has equipped me in this capacity to do this thing. I'm going to ask you to seize the day. There's a reason why I'm dressed the way that I am. Some of you are like, my pastor is a slob. There's a reason I'm dressed the way that I am. I'm dressed this way because it's my opinion that we chase after the calling that God's placed on our life. Not here, but beyond these walls. As we're dressed like this, in everyday life, that's where we chase our calling. And the reason I'm wearing a t-shirt says seize the day. I'm going to ask you families to seize the day. There's some of you who said, you know what, I think that God has given me the ability to be handy. And I see things around this church that need to be done. I'm going to ask you that you take the initiative and connect with the Board of Trustees and offer up your ability. There are some of you who came to me this year and said, you know what, God has called me and given me a heart for the elderly, and I want to visit them. I'm going to ask you to seize the day and become a part of a visitation team this year. We've got several elderly who don't get out, and man, they would love to see your face. They would love to see the faces of your kids. Okay? And there are some who do get out, but are lonely. I would love for you to get to know them as a part of a visitation team. This is for you families. And for you futures. Okay? This is what I want to see this year. There's a lot of other things, but this is primary. I have a passion for the teens in this town. Okay. In my estimation, we dropped the ball when it comes to our teens in this community. There's not one good teen ministry here. And shame on us. Shame on my generation for that. I'm going to ask those who feel like God has laid on their heart this passion for the next generation, those teens, that you would come and you would become part of a youth advisory team. A team that gets together, that shares the same common passion for these young people, and that we come together and we strategize and think about and then implement these ideas and ways in which we can reach these teenage people. These people who are going to be the leaders of this church in the future. Whether that's having a leadership conference, whether that's establishing a fellowship for Christian athletes, I don't know what it looks like. But that's why we need to have a team that takes part of it. If God's laid that on your heart, man, I'd love for you to be a part of that. I've got about 40 other goals. Okay? And I will gladly share those with you. But in summation, I want you to seize the day. Whether you are a founder, seize the day. Whether you are a family, please seize the day. Whether you're a young person, who I watched 10 of our youth last week go down on an Indian reservation and serve people who they didn't know. Seize the day. Psalm chapter 90, verse 12 tells us, Lord, teach us to number our days, because they are so few. I just buried a woman who was my mom's age this week. Man, that brought the reality of the brevity of life home. Lord, teach us to number our days so that we might apply our hearts to wisdom, what it is that you want to accomplish, Lord. So, saints, as we close, as we began with a question. Can one man affect society's eternal expectation? Can one woman affect society's eternal expectation? Can you affect powers laid in their eternal expectation? On the authority of God's word, the answer is yes. The only question that remains is, will you pursue that calling? My encouragement, my prayer, my plea is that you would seize the day. I'm going to close with this. It's an example of somebody seizing the day. Brother Don here, God's placed in his heart a burden has seized the day. He's going to be leaving us for a couple of months. Maybe we won't ever see his face again, I don't know. But God has called him to go back to the school he graduated from and serve for a couple of months, pouring his life into the teens that God's going to use throughout the world. Don sees the day. Don's a young man. And if Don can do it, then I can do it. And if I can do it, then you can do it. And one way that we can seize the day today is this. I'm going to ask Don to come down here, and I'm going to ask all of you to get up out of your seats. I'm going to ask you guys to come down here, and we're going to pray for Don that God would bless him as he goes out and carries out the calling that God's placed on his life. Okay? So, Don, could you come down? I'm going to ask everybody to get up out of your seat.